counties in our country, 2,700 to 525, on a map that reads almost completely red for Republican.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions. That's your warning. Members are engaging in willful and continuing breach of decorum, and the chair is prepared to direct the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order to the joint session. Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
Well, there it is. What else can you do but laugh, folks? What else can you do but laugh? We are back. It is 6:34 in the PM here on March the 7th. Good God. March the 7th, 2025. The future is here. The future is now. As you heard, Donald Trump just delivered his first address to the joint session of Congress since returning to office for his second term. As you can hear, it was a cluster bleep, as it is known to be called. It was a State of the Union address, but it wasn't a State of the Union address. It existed in some sort of weird ambiguity where this is the State of the Union, but it's not really. The State of the Union is just Donald Trump wanting to address Congress and the American people. The speech took place in the chamber of the House of Representatives at the U.S. Capitol, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern, which is 8 p.m. our time here in the Great Midwest, and lasted approximately 1 hour and 40 minutes. Good God. That man almost talked for 2 hours. Good Lord. Trump sort of reminds me of this dude who used to live across the street from us when I lived in East Chicago, who used to talk to himself, called Abba Dabba. And Abba Dabba would just talk to himself for hours. He'd go, and you'd just be walking outside, and like, I don't know how, he's sort of like Trump in the sense that his voice was just booming. Like, it sounded like Abba Dabba had it sounded like he had one of those bullhorns, but no, he didn't have a bullhorn. He just talked, and it was loud and it's booming, and you could hear him from 2 blocks away. And this man would just talk about whatever the hell was going on. That's Trump. Trump rambles. And let me tell you, trying to put a succinct cap on his hour and 40 minutes was very hard. But since I love and respect my audience, I did what I had to do, and I buckled down and I tried to get that full hour and 40 minutes. I just did it. I just had to speed up the video a few times. You have to speed it up to a time and a half, and then 2x sometimes in order to get through a Donald Trump speech. Good Lord, that man rambles. Whew. The central theme of the speech was the renewal of the American dream. And he declared that America is back, emphasizing a vision of a golden age for the United States. He highlighted his administration's actions in the first 6 weeks since his January 20th inauguration, claiming to have accomplished more in that time than most do in years, which is true. That is actually true. Which is why I tell you guys, and I told you guys at the last administration, when the Democrats are constantly telling black people they can't do anything, they are lying. We can't do this, we can't do that. You're lying. The parliamentarian. George W. Bush fired the parliamentarian. He just said, oh, you're not going to do what I want you to do? You're fired. And nobody did anything. He didn't go to jail. He didn't get kicked out of office. He didn't get impeached. The parliamentarian is solely a arbitrary obstacle. It is just there so that, usually Democrats will tell working class and poor people and black people all the stuff they can't do for us. But Trump don't give a damn about no parliamentarian or Congress or anything else. And he just does what he's going to do. And if the Supreme Court strikes some of it down, okay, so be it. They ain't going to strike all of it down, but they'll strike some of it down. Okay, so be it. He'll take a loss here and there. He'll do that to get most of what he wants, or at least get half of what he wants. That's what we wanted from Obama, folks. That's what we wanted from Joe Biden. That. When they told us they couldn't do anything. Oh, well, we get, parliamentarian. Oh, the Republicans. Oh, well, we don't have 60 votes. You think Trump cares about 60 votes? He definitely does not. Okay. He highlighted, let's go back to some of these key points that he included. His economic policies. He touted a manufacturing revival and economic optimism, and cited a significant jump in small business confidence. I can see that. I mean, I know a lot of people are not fans of the tariffs, but the United Auto Workers and a lot of labor unions are in favor of the tariffs, because I hate to tell y'all this, because most of y'all probably voted for Bill Clinton. But since NAFTA and permanent trade relations with China, we probably lost about 20 million jobs in this country. And the only way you're ever going to get them back is something catastrophic happening. Or something resembling a catastrophe. Tariffs is what people like FDR used back in the 1930s to force people to build stuff here in America. That's why the United Auto Workers support Trump's tariffs. This is the only way you're going to get it back. And is it going to cause significant damage? Yes, it will. Yes, it will. But hey, this is the cost, folks. Y'all voted for Bill Clinton. He told y'all NAFTA was coming. That's why Ross Perot very famously at the 92 debates, when George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton, who both supported NAFTA, they got up there and Ross Perot said there's going to be a giant sucking sound. I think I played that clip here on this show a few times. There's going to be a giant sucking sound. Let me see if I can find that clip, because it's one of the more important things to let y'all know. Whenever y'all say, well, they had no way to know that this was going to happen. Oh, no. Bill Clinton did the best he could do. Oh, I hear that from y'all. That's not true. Here's Ross Perot telling me.
I think the first question is over here.
Yes, I'd like to direct my question to Mr. Perot. What will you do as president to open foreign markets to fair competition from American business and here at home from foreign countries so that we can bring jobs back to the United States?
That's right at the top of my agenda. We've shipped millions of jobs overseas, and we have a strange situation because we have a process in Washington where after you've served for a while, you cash in, become a foreign lobbyist, make $30,000 a month, then take a leave, work on presidential campaigns, make sure you got good contacts, and then go back out. Now, if you just want to get down to brass tacks, first thing you ought to do is get all these folks who've got these one-way trade agreements that we've negotiated over the years and say, fellas, we'll take the same deal we gave you. And they'll gridlock right at that point because, for example, we've got international competitors who simply could not unload their cars off the ships if they had to comply. You see, if it was a two-way street, just couldn't do it. We have got to stop sending jobs overseas. To those of you in the audience who are business people, pretty simple. If you're paying $12, $13, $14 an hour for factory workers, and you can move your factory south of the border, pay $1 an hour for labor, hire a young 25, that's assuming you've been in business for a long time, you've got a mature workforce. Pay $1 an hour for your labor, have no health care, that's the most expensive single element making a car, have no environmental controls, no pollution controls, and no retirement, and you don't care about anything but making money, there will be a giant sucking sound going south. So if the people send me to Washington, the first thing I'll do is study that 2,000-page agreement and make sure it's a two-way street. One last point here. I've called out.
Well, that was Ross Perot's famous sucking sound. He told y'all the jobs are going to go south, and they did with NAFTA, and then Clinton signed permanent trade relations with China. Joe Biden supported it. A lot of the Republicans and Democrats, the corporate Democrats and Republicans of the 90s supported it, and so now the jobs left. Only way you're going to probably get them to have a lot of these companies to bring jobs back to America is to make it extremely painful to make stuff elsewhere, or at least to buy stuff elsewhere. And yeah, it's going to hurt. It's going to rise. It's going to make prices rise. But there was just never no way we were ever going to go back to manufacturing things in this country without it hurting extremely bad. After NAFTA, after PNTR with China, that's just what it is. So I may not agree with a lot of things Trump is doing, but I mean, like I said, tariffs is straight out of FDR's handbook, and y'all know how I feel about FDR. If you listen to the show, I think he's the best president this country ever had. And it says a lot. Oh, we're going to talk about FDR later. When the Democrats give their response to Trump's speech. But yeah. But also U.S. automakers received a 1-month exemption from the tariffs as well. But Trump actually backed off after the tariffs after getting some concessions from Canada and Mexico as well. Some of the tariffs. He also talked about border security. He emphasized a crackdown on illegal immigration, which we saw in places like Chicago. Again, another thing that we tried to tell the corporate Democrats that, you know, people like Brandon Johnson in Chicago, that brother's in deep trouble. That brother's in serious trouble. He's about to get a Tiffany Hinyard style blowout if he does not hurry up and change things around very fast. He emphasized the crackdown on illegal immigration, which is what the public wants, Democrat and Republican. I don't know when it became in vogue for people on the left to support illegal immigration. That certainly wasn't FDR's stance. It wasn't LBJ's stance. It wasn't Cesar Chavez's stance. It wasn't Coretta Scott King and A. Philip Randolph and all the great leftists of the 20th century stance. It wasn't Bernie Sanders' stance. You know, Bernie Sanders was very critical of Ronald Reagan and the Koch brothers and all those people who encouraged mass immigration and open borders and things like that. Hey. But now, at some point, people on the left decided that mass immigration and illegal immigration was a good thing. Out of the blue, apparently. And now it's a absolute loser for the Democrats or anybody who calls themselves a leftist, unfortunately. There was a record low of border crossings in February, and Trump definitely made sure to tout that. This is what we wanted from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, right there. And called for Congress to fund a massive deportation operation, referencing the Laken-Riley Act signed in January to expand detention and deportation powers. Again, all you had to do was this. This is all you had to do. this again shows that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris could have done a lot more to prevent a lot of this. Unfortunately, Donald Trump is, I know I got into it with one of y'all a few days ago. Look, the Rasmussen poll says Trump's approval ratings at 54%. CNN says 48%. The fact is, Donald Trump is a lot more popular than somebody who gets called Hitler regularly should be. And it is all the fault of the people y'all vote for being even dumber than Hitler and more incompetent than Hitler. Or the person y'all call Hitler, at least. He touted government efficiency, as I played at the top of the show. He praised DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, led by Elon Musk, for slashing federal jobs and spending. Musk attended the speech and was highlighted as a key figure in reshaping the government. Well, of course he is. Elon Musk, just like all billionaires, well, most of them, most billionaires, I don't want to paint them all with a broad brush, but most of them are greedy and want to remove any type of guardrails that will prevent them from making as much money and having as much power and control over society as possible. So, you saw Elon Musk there cheesing all over the place. That is why. But I will say Trump made a really big blunder during his speech that I didn't really see people talking about that much. Maybe it's because I avoid most corporate media like the plague, if I can help it. But he said when he bragged about canceling $8 million in funding to turn mice transgender, he got that wrong. That $8 million wasn't to turn mice transgender. It was to make them transgenic. It was for transgenic studies, not transgender studies, transgenic studies. This is extremely important because this difference is extremely important because transgenic studies is when we introduce human disease cells like Alzheimer's to mice to study for a cure for Alzheimer's and other diseases. We need more transgenic studies, not transgender studies, transgenic. Now, I don't know if Trump did that on purpose or if he is just ignorant as usual. With Trump, you just never know. Is he ignorant or is he lying? It's about a 50-50 chance with Trump. He could be ignorant. He could be lying. It could be some combination of lying while being ignorant. You just don't know with Donald Trump. Now, with foreign policy, he talked about international issues. He talked about the freeze on military aid to Ukraine following a heated Oval Office meeting with that grifter, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, and a man so corrupt that he's suspended elections and forced any opposing media outlets to close in Ukraine while they kidnap men off of the streets and forcing them to fight Russia in the front lines. He's also hinting at peace negotiations for the Russo-Ukrainian war, which is a good thing. The corporate media, which is basically controlled by the CIA and the billionaire class, was up in arms because Donald Trump wants to make peace with Russia. But as I have to remind you guys time and time again, Russia has more nuclear weapons than any country on planet Earth. Before they go down, they will take the entire Earth with them, particularly the Northern Hemisphere. That is us. Last time I checked, Gary, Indiana is in the Northern Hemisphere, and much of Western Europe with them. So it is a good thing to try to make peace with Russia. And for decades, again, Democrats, the left, screamed for peace with Russia and America's so-called enemies, and it was Republicans, the right, who used to say, no, you guys are all just communists. You guys just hate America. How dare you try to make peace with Russia? They called Bernie Sanders a communist. They called Bill Clinton a communist when he was young. They called all of them communists if they said anything other than we should just go and bomb and kill up as many Russian people as possible and risk World War III. Now it is the Democrats who, when Donald Trump says, hey, I think us, Russia and China should all cut our military expenditures in half, who go, oh, you can't do that. How dare you? How dare you try to cut military spending in half for the three biggest military powers in the world? How dare you? This is why I don't vote for these people anymore. That's neither here nor there. Let's stay on track. One thing that you notice, he did not bring up Israel. Not a lot of talk about Israel. And that is because, you know, one thing I will give Donald Trump credit for, he does have good political instincts. And he sees that Israel is becoming more and more unpopular by the day. And Israel owns his behind. AIPAC owns his behind. Marian Adelson, I think her name is Marian Adelson, she owns him. She gave him $100 million for the sole purpose of helping Israel to genocide and ethnically cleanse the Palestinians. But Donald Trump knows that that is a very unpopular position. And so he's got to navigate that line between a very unpopular position that the entire world is turning against at this point and trying to satisfy the people who own him. Not the Russians. The corporate media and NBC will tell you that Russia owns him. Israel owns Trump. Okay? AIPAC owns Trump. They own all of them too. You want to know why MSNBC fired Joy Reid? Because she criticizes Israel. She could get on TV all day and spread all the conspiracy theories and lies about Russia till she's blue in the face. But the minute she talks about about Israel, she got to go. The woman is gone. And everybody else. Who else they kick off? Mehdi Hassan. They kicked off a few of the black and brown people who were critical of Israel off of MSNBC. And they're supposed to be the liberal channel. So that lets you know who really owns all of our politicians and media. And it ain't Russia, folks. He also talked about his opposition to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because, of course, transgender stuff and affirmative action aligning with his campaign promises. Again, every time we bring this up, I have to remind you guys, just in case a lot of you have never listened to my show before, the idea of meritocracy in the United States is a sham. There is no meritocracy in the United States. Never has been. The whole purpose of America itself was to allow rich white men to accrue as much wealth and power as possible while nobody else had any real power. That is not merit. Having slaves for hundreds of years that you don't allow to read or drive or be citizens is not merit. I'm sorry. Having Jim Crow into the 1960s and having a full 100 years where black people weren't allowed to have full participation in politics is not merit. Having redlining into the modern day that forces black people into the worst, most starved neighborhoods, the most resource-starved neighborhoods in America is not meritocracy. Assassinating all the civil rights leaders, pushing drugs in our community, mass incarcerating black people, that is not meritocracy. That is not people who want to compete on a fair playing ground. And it's a mockery of Donald Trump to try to pretend that he's pro-meritocracy when his administration is full of nothing but cronies who are unqualified to do their damn jobs. In his first administration, he literally hired his daughter and son-in-law as his foreign policy advisors. Neither one of them have any experience. He made Pete Hegseth the Secretary of Defense. Pete Hegseth was just a guy in the military who ended up with a show on Fox News. What qualifies him to be the Secretary of Defense? Nothing. You have huge swaths of Trump's administrations, both of them being full of people who hadn't. Ben Carson was the head of HUD. Ben Carson never even worked in housing. What in the hell was he doing running HUD? Nothing. But these people will lecture you about merit. And, oh man, affirmative action is the antithesis of merit. No, your entire life is the antithesis of meritocracy, Donald Trump. You were a millionaire at 8 years old, not because of anything you did, but because your father used to put property in your name. Your father put property in your name. That is why you are a millionaire. And your son right now is already starting a multi-million-dollar property company at 18 years old, not because anything he's done, but because you're doing the same thing. That's not meritocracy. That's plutocracy. That's oligarchy. That's a whole lot of stuff. That's nepotism. That's cronyism. But it sure as hell ain't meritocracy. So I always have to say that when we talk about DEI and affirmative action, because even I hear it here on the station. I ain't gonna lie. Okay, I'm always respectful of people who come by the station. I never interfere with other people's shows. But when I hear people talking about, well, DEI and affirmative, dude, being rich and white is the ultimate affirmative action and DEI program. It always has been. It always will be. Most people in America get their jobs through personal relationships. Hell, I've gotten virtually every job I've ever gotten through personal relationships as well. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying facts. I got this job through personal relationships. No, I believe I do it okay, but still. Ultimately, the speech was divisive, and Republicans applauded, chanted USA, as you guys heard. The Democrats protested with more nonsense, more symbolism. They held signs like false that said stuff like false and save Medicaid and Musk steals. You heard not Reverend Al Green. I wish it was Reverend Al Green, but it was Representative Al Green from Texas. He was escorted out after interrupting Donald Trump. A lot of the Democratic women wore pink and white to protest Trump's policies because, once again, why do anything when you just do some symbolic nonsense like wearing pink and or white? They also invited guests affected by his policies, like fired federal workers and Medicaid recipients, to highlight their opposition. So, I will say that I think it's important to get to the Democratic response from Alyssa Slotkin really quick, because to me this is ridiculous as well. To have somebody like Alyssa Slotkin. Let's get what she had to say.
Because here's the thing. Today's world is deeply interconnected. Migration, cyber threats, AI, environmental destruction, terrorism. One nation cannot face these issues alone. We need friends in all corners, and our safety depends on it. President Trump loves to say peace through strength. That's actually a line he stole from Ronald Reagan. But let me tell you, after the spectacle that just took place in the Oval Office last week, Reagan must be rolling in his grave. God. We all want an end to the war in Ukraine, but Reagan understood that true strength required America to combine our military and economic might with moral clarity. And that scene in the Oval Office wasn't just a bad episode of reality TV. It summed up Trump's whole approach to the world. He believes in cozying up to dictators like Vladimir Putin and kicking our friends like the Canadians in the teeth. He sees American leadership as merely a series of real estate transactions. As a Cold War kid, I'm thankful it was Reagan and not Trump in office in the 1980s. Trump would have lost us the Cold War. Donald Trump's actions suggest that in his heart, he doesn't believe we're an exceptional nation. He clearly doesn't think we should lead the world.
Damn! Oh, no. So the Democrats' response was to let a literal CIA agent, because that's what Alyssa Slotkin is, she was in the CIA, tell us about how great Ronald Reagan was, a man who, when he was in office, Democrats also compared to Hitler regularly. If you listen to this show, you know he's the worst thing to happen to this country over the last 50 years. Literally the reason we have crack on the scale that we have it, ramped up mass incarceration, destroyed organized labor. NAFTA was actually his baby that Bill Clinton signed, but NAFTA was Reagan's idea. Naturalized 20 million non-citizens. Like just the sheer volume of things that Ronald Reagan did to set us on this awful course we've been on. And instead of going back to the Democratic president that had the most success in the 20th century, that got elected four times, counted four times, FDR was elected 4 times, folks, for a reason, okay? A man who is the reason, whose New Deal policies is the reason the Democrats controlled Congress for 50 years, from the 1930s into the 1980s. They basically controlled the government. No, the Democrats don't talk about him. Oh, God, no. We'll talk about Ronald Reagan, the man responsible for crack and the disastrous AIDS response. Good God. Good God. And then she talks about how Donald Trump cozies up to dictator. This talking point. Do y'all know that when Obama was president in 2015, the Freedom House, not Gary's Freedom House, but the international organization, the Freedom House, actually found that the United States was supporting 73% of the world's dictatorships. 73% of the world's dictatorships were being supported by the U.S. And that's when Obama was in office. This idea that America was just this clean, virtuous country until Donald Trump showed up is complete nonsense. America supports some of the worst dictators and autocracies on the planet and has for many years, long before Donald Trump ever got involved. And so this is the clown show nonsense that the Democrats bring out. And of course, the next day they were in Congress singing, "We Shall Overcome." They are not a serious party. They are not a serious party. They are not a serious party. I've been telling you guys that for a long time, probably as long as I've been here at WLTH. They are not a serious party. They are an impediment to the left, to black people, and everybody else. They have to go. We have to find an alternative to the corporate sellout Democratic Party. They are the worst possible people to fight Trump. They made Trump possible. They literally made Donald Trump possible. A lot of them were literally friends with Donald Trump, like the Clintons, who invited him to the White House 30 times. Bill Clinton and Donald Trump were best friends. Bill Clinton told Donald Trump to run for president in 2016. He told him to do it. The Clintons literally used the Pied Piper strategy to elevate Trump over Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz, which is why Donald Trump got so much more media attention than they did. The Clintons got their friends in the media to do that. And not to mention all of their terrible policies like NAFTA, like welfare reform, TPP, all the stuff that they supported, PNTR with China. Many of them supported the Iraq War and all those other things. These things made Donald Trump possible. And now Dr. Frankenstein is telling us, oh no, we're gonna we're just gonna keep doing what we were doing that created the monster to fight the monster. These people have zero self-awareness. Hopefully our callers have self-awareness. Thank you for waiting for so long, caller. I had to get that out. What's up?
How you doing there, young man?
It's all good.
I thought Esther Rose was in there with you when I heard you say, damn, damn, damn.
Yes, she's always with me. She's always with me in spirit.
All this stuff that Trump talking about, how many millions of dollars went here? How many $1 million went there? Who's signing the papers to get this money to go here, there, and everywhere? Who's being responsible for it? How could you say that they sent $8 billion, like this 130 or 40 billion they sent to Ukraine? Do you see them building homes and apartment buildings and stuff over there, sis? That
nope.
They got that money?
Not here. Not here.
Now, can you imagine what we could do here with 130 or 40 million dollars? $1 billion?
Oh God.
Huh?
Fix
roads.
We be living in the future, brother.
Yeah, fix roads, and then when you need something here, the first thing they holler, they gonna have to shut the government down. We don't have the money, but you can always find some to send to somebody else. Supposedly, yep. I could send $12 million over there and tell you I sent 130 or 40 billion. If I got 6 or 7 people sitting in the room with me, and I give you $12 billion apiece, will you tell on me what I'm doing or what I'm not doing?
You already know.
Huh?
You already know, brother. You already know.
Hey. Well, they talking about one hand wash the other. You better believe. A lot of them will holler, I voted this way, but you don't know which way they voted.
Nope.
And you got all this so-called money, revenue, to send this many billions of dollars here, over there. How Trump know about this? You notice a lot of people that's running for office, campaigning, they're always telling dirty dirt on the other opponent.
Right.
Tell everything. And you've been knowing this for years, but all of a sudden now you want to come out and tell the public what's going on, what this person did or didn't do, and all this. Now, he's talking all this crap, and like you say, he wouldn't be where he's at if it wasn't for his daddy leaving him money.
Nope.
He's leaving his kids money.
Yes, he is.
And this one supposed to be the richest man in the world. He come on TV looking like a doggone nut.
You already know, brother.
Hey, I appreciate your program, man. Okay.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for you always got something deep to say. Thank you for calling. Keep listening. Keep calling in. All right, folks. I had to get all that out. But now we can have some happies after a very serious first hour. We'll be right back after these.